MTBF MTTR.
Mm.
Another. This one I'm actually a lot less chuck it in the bin than the other two.
Okay.
I mean, it is in the bin one, but the thing that it has going for it is at least it can be clearly defined.
Yeah. Okay.
Like across industries, MTBF, MTTR, same definition. It's a formula,
Sure.
and it's right. And so you can understand what it's telling you. You can understand what it's good for and what it's bad for. And again, even as a reporting metric, I probably wouldn't use it. So in the bin, but because it's clearly defined, you can use it as a stepping stone, right? If all you have is MTBF and MTTR data, and you want to use that to, report on your whole site's performance or whatever, go for it. But quickly move away from it. It's not too much of a jump to go from that to, actual distributions and start breaking it up into different modes and categorizing the failures and all that kind of stuff. And then it becomes a lot more useful. Do you have any?
I don't see the need for MTTR as a reporting sort of metric. I fully appreciate, understand MTBF, but like I've always erred on the side of caution with respect to expediting repair and improving that. I think the repair is what the repair is, and we shouldn't, or we should be reluctant to try and improve that beyond simple like lean manufacturing type activities, because I think that can lead to pretty, I suppose, bad outcomes, whether they be safety outcomes or just like band-aid repairs and preferencing those things. I think we need to be really cautious about using MTTR as a metric, because I think it can have some significant unintended consequences.
So I'm with you there. I think, but there is utility in that if you say that this job should take this long with all of the safety precautions and like everything that you need to get it done, then identifying times where that doesn't happen, and usually it's like operational, like people are just, don't realize it, or they're slow to site, or some other complication has happened and it's just taken too long. It's a good way to kind of identify, again, there's an issue, but you don't know what it is. And then you got to dig into like, why isn't this repair taking 4 hours when, it's.
But that's time to repair, not mean time to repair, right? It's like, if you,
true.
But again, if you're like on a fleet with, varying geography across your fleet, and you start to see that I'll just pull something, the 1,000-hour overhaul across your fleet, the MTTR is slipping. Okay, that's pretty valuable. I can appreciate that. But on a job by job basis, that's TTR, right? Yeah. So I just, and my background, for everyone is more manufacturing, and pulp and paper. So, right, I'd be pretty loath, drawing on that to say, okay, the repair, shall be such and such, because once you say that, it'll never be that, right? So I'm cautious about it. But coming back to MTBF, I think it's a good starting point. I've seen, I prefer to use it at a system level rather than sort of an asset level, because you obviously get your mean time between failure, but then maybe it's normally distributed, that maybe it's not, but there's obviously the variance that you've got to take into account as well. But I think at a system level, I've seen it used, okay, maybe successful. They used it, so that's like a tick, right? That's a good start. There's a little bit of success in that. But I think there are stronger metrics that are equally simple, just like simple overall equipment effectiveness or technical availability. I prefer to use those ones today.
Yeah, it seems like you've got a very much system mindset. I think what I'm used to and what I'm doing is like people taking populations of like failure data for, let's say, like valves or something, right? And they'll just
Sure.
they'll take all the valves across all their fleet, figure out the MTBF, MTTRs, and use that as like a basis for plugging in to like reliability block diagrams to do
Sure.
the systems level analysis.
Yep.
And so it's kind of like there's a whole bunch of things wrong with that, right? Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
but yeah, it still results in the system level stuff, but they've kind of derived those numbers from, because you really don't have that many samples when you're looking at that one particular asset in that system, what its failure rate is. And by the time you've replaced it a few times, it's a different version and different model of pump or whatever anyway. So,
and not to mention, like, you know, it obviously plugs well into the exponential, which allows you to then sort of attempt to estimate a reliability figure, right?
yeah.
But the key is for the time domain. You can have a look at the exponential equation if you need to, but I've seen a really poor effort of it being used, whereby they, so you might laugh at this, but they grabbed the MTBF for the last 24 hours, right? And they worked out, okay, the last 24 hours, our mean time to failure was this. And then they'd use the exponential distribution, and the T would be 24 hours. They'd say, therefore, our, you know, factory was this reliable. And it's like, you know that from like availability and just uptime anyway. So like, why are you doing this? You know, it's like, so I'm glad I made you laugh. But
I was laughing when you said you're going to laugh at this, because I'm like, yeah, here we go, another shocker.
Another stuffer. But I think it's like you said, coming full circle to your question. It's relatable. You know, a person that's not a maintenance or reliability engineer can say, okay, on average, how many failures have I had? Right. Okay, that makes sense. And, you know, if it's more, that's bad. If it's less, that's good. Cool. That's relatable. And it's clearly defined. And I think at a sort of system level, if you say, well, my mean time between failure last year was 100 days, right? And this year it's 105. Well, that's good. So, like, that's not a bad thing to understand that. What my you know, CapEx or OpEx efforts have been beneficial. I've grabbed an extra 5 hours on average. And then maybe there's a trend there that I can sort of start to sort of think about. That's pretty good at a very high level. But if you're starting to use MTBF at like asset level and tactical sort of level, I don't think you'll be there for long. I think your maturity in your work will move you past it pretty quick.
Yeah, I agree. I think closing thoughts for me is that all three of these metrics have, I won't say no utility, but very small utility in terms of long-term reporting and trending. The MTBF one, at least we can define it pretty consistently. But any sort of decision making at an asset level and even system level to most part, I think they've all got really much no utility, or shouldn't be in that space. And I'm still open to there being a use for them, but if they can't be defined and you can't clearly articulate a use case, then to me it's like kind of a waste of time calculating it. But the managers will disagree with me and go, I want to see that number because of X, Y, and Z, and you end up having to provide it anyway. But
you shoehorn something into a number and go, oh,
yeah,
there you go, right? Yeah. Look, I think it represents a step in the pragmatic journey that is asset management, and it's maybe the first or second step to have some sort of metric in there. But I think if you have an asset management system that is, you know, has a continuous improvement cycle to it, that you will inevitably, like you suggested, coming full circle, is you'll inevitably put it in the bin. I just think, yeah, you need to start with it, right?
Yeah.
You need to get good before you get better. So Dakota agrees.
One last thing then, do you think it's possible, let's say greenfield site, whether it's manufacturing or whatever, brand new facility, do you think it's feasible to leapfrog that stage of early life cycle MTBF and all that kind of stuff? If we have, here's your most, let's say, better practice in terms of your terms, better practice systems and your better practice ways of doing things, and here's some modeling stuff, and here's like industry data, and here's white papers saying like this is how long things should last and how these systems perform. And we go bang off the shelf, hit the ground running. Is it possible to leapfrog these metrics?
I think it is. I think to support all of that sort of, like, it's almost like front-end engineering, right? Design, you'd need a very comprehensive operational readiness and assurance framework to support that, to say we have everything in place that we could possibly want before we go live. When you go live, if you don't have them in place, forget about it. You've just lost all that value by turning assets on. But if you have that front end, engineering and design, I think you can. I'd like to see it.
Support it, and
it'd be great, but I think you can.
And the culture and the team that get it too, right? Yeah. All right, mate. I think we're done. We're at time, so I appreciate you having a chat and some good ideas bounced around. You've got me thinking, which is awesome. So until next time.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for the opportunity.
Too easy, mate. Cheers. Bye.